Always, thank you so much. And thank you for holding down the music department this morning. I appreciate you. Good morning and welcome everyone to Harmony Spiritual Center. It's so good to see all of you here this morning. You look beautiful. You look wonderful. We are a spiritual center, and what we do here is that we teach, we learn, we practice. We were just talking about that this morning in our class, and it's not just about reading and knowing what you see from reading, it's about actually doing. Taking that knowing from here to here and knowing for a fact what God is for you, who you are, an individualized expression, and who we are together, a community of lovers of God, of lovers of one another, of divine individual expressions of the one love. So thank you all so much for being here. We, last week, I wasn't here, and we had a fabulous talk by our resident minister, Reverend Pat Moore. It was a wonderful, wonderful talk. If you didn't get a chance to listen to it, go back and listen to it on YouTube. It was wonderful. And her salient message was that God is in the paradox. God is in the paradox. That we have the power to heal ourselves, to create the lives we want, just by deciding to do so. It's our decision. We get to do that. The paradox being that we are both the keeper of our own pain and the redeemers of it. We can decide whether we're going to just hold on to the pain or we're going to let it go and create the best life that we possibly can. Those are our decisions. And so that is the paradox that is within God. That's how I saw it. You might have meant something different, but that's how I saw it. So really, it's so interesting to me because it doesn't make any difference what I say up here, what I say in the classroom, what any of us says. What people hear is what they need to hear. And I've heard people tell me, oh, I loved it when you said this, that, or the other thing. I'm thinking, never said that in my life, but I'm so glad you heard that. Now, you hear what you need to hear, and I'm good with it. I'm really good with it. So I'm going to get up here and say what I'm going to say, and you're going to hear what you need to hear. And I know that that's what's going to happen. So today I want to talk about claiming our lives. Because if we're co-creators, if we're individualized expressions of the one love of the great divine creator, that means we get to co-create our lives. And there's a lot of confusion as to how co-creation works. How do we say definitively, this is what I want, and then expect that to happen in our lives? Well, the biggest thing is that you have to say yes to whatever it is that you're asking for. Sometimes we'll say we want something. I want more money, I want more love, I want more knowledge, I want more knowing knowledge, whatever it is. We say that's what we want, but then we don't actually say yes to it when it comes, when it's trying to arrive. We don't decide for it. We just kind of, if it's God's will, if I've been good enough this week, and whatever, all the stuff that we put in front of the prayer. But the fact is, we simply state the truth, decide on it, and then hold the faith, the knowing that this is what's going to happen because we've claimed it. It's just that simple and that difficult. It's both, that's the paradox. It's both simple and difficult because we've got to let go of so many things. So the point of the talk today is that the life we want has to be decided for. You have to say yes to it. And don't give yourself an escape route. Well, I want this, but it may not come right now. I may need to do some other things. And you will, by the way, need to do some other things because if you didn't have those things to do, you'd already have what you're looking for. So there will be other things, but you don't necessarily know what that is. That's God's job, right? We talk about the what is our business and what's God's business? How. Thank you. Someone's listening. It's the how. The how is God's business, not yours. Okay, yours is simply to say what it is that you want. God has already said yes. The moment we pray, the moment we put a prayer out, it's already a yes from Spirit. It's already a yes. So we just have to accept that and move towards it. Do whatever it is that Spirit is telling us to do. I was talking to someone, I won't throw her name out, I won't throw her under the rug, or the bus or whatever you're throwing her under. But it's not really doing that. But she was concerned about a friend, and someone else said to her, well, what's yours to do? And she said, oh my God, is Pjae here? Because that's always the question, right? We pray, we say what it is we want, and then we ask, what's mine to do? What is mine to do here? Because don't necessarily know how it's going to get done, but there's something you need to do. And Spirit will tell you that. And the question, then the thing is, will you do it? Will you move forward? I was asking Spirit, I've shared this with you guys before. I'm heading and doing something. I'm taking a class. It costs quite a bit. Out of my bank account, out of the reach of my bank account, but not out of the reach of abundance of the universe. Okay. So I was asking Spirit, okay, so what do I do next? And Spirit said, well, you call this friend. And I've talked about my friend all the time. His name is Obi, and I go over to Thailand, and we do a lot of charity work together and all that. And he said, call your friends. And I said, no, I don't know about that. No, I don't want to bring him into it. Hello, you just ask what to do. I'm telling you to call your friend. Do it or don't. It's up to you, because you're the one who asked, and this is the answer. All right, fine. So I texted him, because he's overseas, and I texted him. I did a WhatsApp, and I texted him. It was maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, because that's what time I wake up and do my meditation. That's when Spirit was talking to me. And so right after that, I just said, all right, I'm just going to text him. I'm just going to do what God says. I'm going to text him. I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to look for it. I'm not going to wait on it. Seriously, not 2 minutes later, my text, ding, ding. And some people said, oh, my God, love it. Love to help you out. Just tell me what you need. Just whatever you need. Thank you, Spirit, yes. And so that's what it is, just following what Spirit has to say. But manifesting your dreams, what does that look like? So we know this. We've just had the Olympics. And so we've seen these amazing, fabulous, unbelievable athletics going on all the way around the world. And when you hear them talk, when they're in interviews and you hear them talk, most of them will say, I haven't heard one that hasn't said, I've always known this was for me. I've always known it. I've seen it. I've seen myself here. I've seen myself doing this. I have a vision for it, and I'm not going to quit. I'm never going to quit until I got it. That's what they all say. I saw it, I knew it was mine, and I wasn't going to stop until I got it. That's the simple formula, right? You see it, you claim it, you know it's yours, and you don't stop until you have it. That's what we do. But so what is it that you know for sure? It has to be that. They knew that for sure. This was mine to do. And it didn't matter how many Olympics they had to go to get it. They were, well, if I don't get the first Olympic, I'm not going back. No one ever said that. There were several people that had been there several times. This is their first win or their first big win. They never stopped. And so it gets to be about what you know for sure. Because what you know for sure, then you move forward as if it's already done, as if there's no way to stop you. So I've shared with you, many of you, and some of you don't necessarily know me, so you probably don't know this story, but I was a pregnant teen. I was a pregnant teen mom. And there was a lot of advice all around me, and you can imagine, for me not to keep the baby. Too young, don't know what I'm doing, and I didn't. Don't know what to do, don't know where to go, any of that kind of stuff, so don't keep the baby. That was never, ever going to happen. Never. The moment I knew I had that baby within me, I was in love. I was in love. And I was going to keep the baby. I didn't care what anybody else said. All of the authorities around me, all the people that I loved, who I knew cared for me, and all the advice that I was getting. And I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Didn't know what I was doing. I knew what I wasn't going to do. And I knew that I was going to keep that child. Many of you have met her. Her name is Michelle. That was my firstborn. She's a doll. She's a love. I didn't know what I was doing, but you hang on to what you do know, and then let the universe tell you what's yours. And so what happened was, and I won't go through the whole story, but what happened was, there was a grandmother that I had that I didn't know I had, because my mother never talked about her. She was a step-grandmother. She never talked about her. But she called her, and she said, hey, PJ, my name was Pamela at the time, nobody called me PJ. That's another name that came up later. But Pamela needs some help, and would you help her? And she said, absolutely, absolutely. So I moved to California. I was living in college. I moved to California. There were all kinds of services I'd never heard of to help a woman who needs help. And so I availed myself of those services. And they helped me go back to school. I graduated on time. I got my first job. And as soon as I got a job and had the money to have my own place and all that and take care of my daughter, I called up the services place and I said, thank you so much for your help. I no longer need any assistance, but thank you so much for your help. And they said, oh, no. You need to stay on it. And I said, for what? And they said, well, because you lose your job. And I said, why would I lose a job? That just didn't, what? How do you lose a job? What are you talking about? And I said, no, take me off. I'm never going to lose that job. That's not going to happen because I'm clear. My job is to take care of my daughter. To do that, I have to work. I'm not going to do anything that's going to have me lose my job. And I never did. I got promoted. I went from job to job, all these kinds of different, being promoted. My point is this. What did I know for sure? What do you know for sure? That's how you have to know. When you pray and you ask for something, you have to know for sure it's yours. And you don't let anything or anyone talk you out of it because it's yours to do. It's not theirs to do. We were talking this morning about how we all came here. We came in different paths of being to a spiritual center as opposed to a fundamentalist, which is fine. Many of us grew up in a fundamentalist religion community, and that's fine. But how did we get here? And how we got here was we kept looking, searching for something that resonated with our hearts. And once we found it, we were home. Nothing negative about the place we came from, it just didn't resonate. There were truths that we knew weren't being talked about, and we needed to hear. We didn't know what those truths were, but we knew there was something more. There was a truth that wasn't resonating with our hearts, and we just kept going. Even though people were saying, no, this is it, you got to stay here. You can't go out there. You're going to get in trouble. You're not going to go to heaven. All these things. But we knew that wasn't true for us. So we kept going until we found what we were looking for, even though we didn't know what we were looking for. You understand? We've already been there. We already know about moving forward without knowing what is going to happen. But we knew our hearts, what we know for sure, this ain't it. Wherever we are, this isn't it. I have to move forward. And Spirit is going to show me the way. And that's what I asked for. Show me the way. I don't know what I'm looking for, but show me, let me know for sure when I found it. The moment, and I know all of you have the same story, the moment I stepped into my first CSL church, what's CSL stand for? Center for Spiritual Living? Center for Spiritual Living in San Diego, California. Several things were wrong from my background. Woman in the pulpit, what's happening? What's that about? I don't know if you guys know it or not, but I'm actually a black woman. So I was going to a black Baptist church. So a white woman, blue-eyed white woman in the pulpit. I'm sorry, how is this my church? I don't understand what's going on. The moment she opened her mouth and spoke, I said, oh, I see why I'm here. I see why I'm here. And I said to Spirit, I call Spirit George. George and I have conversations all the time. I said, George, I feel like I'm home. You have to tell me if I'm not, because I feel like I'm going to stay here. And George says, you're home. Stay here. I've been here ever since, and that was in 1995. You know what you know. That's all I'm asking you to do, is to trust and know what you know. You decide on what it is that you need, even if you don't know how to get it, and you stay focused on it until you do. You ask Spirit to help you all the way, to show you, to help you understand when you're seeing what you need to see, when you need to take a step you need to take. And trust that. Have faith in that. Because God has already said, it is my good pleasure to give you the kingdom. What does the kingdom look like for you? It's different for each and every one of us. It's different for each and every one of us, but it's the kingdom for us, and Spirit knows what that is. Spirit knows the longings of your heart. Why? Because it's your higher self. It already knows. You just don't know how to believe, and I'm telling you right now, just believe it. There's a saying that I've heard throughout New Thought, and one of the things that we say before we understand who God is and how it works is that I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe it when I see it. And New Thought, we know that's not the way it goes. It goes, I'll see it when I believe it. I'll see it when I believe it. So believe the truth about who you are, and you will see it. That's all you got to do. And I know it seems like you're asking a lot, but it's not. You just simply decide on it and move forward. I had, this talk is about claiming your life. I didn't realize it until I looked back on as an adult, but I had an aunt, Aunt Sally, and she was my mom's aunt, so she was my great aunt. My mother's mother and 2 sisters. So there was 3 women in that family. And my mother was abandoned by her mom. And so she ended up staying with the family of people, the step-grandmother I was telling you about, who was really a pretty brutal mother to my mom. She was pretty brutal. And so my mom wasn't really raised with a lot of love, which is amazing to me because she's such a loving person, how she knew what love was like. But she said God was with her the whole time. So she always knew what that was like. She always knew what that was like. Well, my Aunt Sally, she lived in Seattle. She had a wonderful big house in Seattle, and she was just a beautiful woman from all accounts. This is what the men in my family tell me, my grandfather and all that tell me about it. And this is how my grandfather described her. He said she would walk into a church and the minister would lose his place. What the hell? That's how beautiful she was, apparently. So she had a great life, she all of that, but she dropped everything. Whenever we were in the United States, and I told you, we were in the military. My father, we traveled around with my father. Wherever we could go with him, we went. So wherever we were in the United States, because we couldn't be with our father, my aunt came to help my mom. Every time. She stayed for months. It never occurred to me that she was leaving her life to do it. But that was her life. That's what she decided to do, was to be with my mom when my mother needed her. Wherever my mom was in the U.S., she showed up. She left her house behind. She got into she had a big old convertible Cadillac and drove it to wherever we were. Sally, I never realized that Aunt Sally was always with us, but she left her own home to do it. She left her own home to do it. That was her life. That's what she claimed, that she was going to love my mom wherever my mom was and whatever she needed. And she was always there. How did she do that? How did she leave her home? How did she leave her work? She just decided to do it. She just decided to do it. And then she went back to it when she no longer needed to be with us. My father came and we went someplace else. Okay? So how do you do it? Whether you realize it or not, you have to understand how to manifest your life. And it comes by being clear. What are you about? We talk about this every beginning of the year. What are your values? Because this will hold you in good stead. Who are you? Because there are people that will come and tell you, well, this is how life is, and this is how you should be. And if you want to, you have to do this, and you have to do that, and you have to do the other thing. And that's fine. They can say all of that. But if it doesn't align with who you are, that isn't for you. It just simply isn't for you. It's okay for someone, it just isn't for you. And you know if it's yours because it aligns with who you say you are. And I talk to you guys about it every year. We look at what are your top 5 values, just top 5, because everything else will fall underneath that anyway. What are your top 5? What matters to you the most? My number 1 had always been and will always be my relationship with Spirit. That's my number 1. And then everything else comes after that. That's number 1. What's yours? So no matter what happens in the world, I can relate it and go, well, what would Spirit do? What, George? What's going on here? What's mine to do? What's mine to let go of? What's mine? So that's what we're going to do. Whether you have to know and be clear about what's important to you. And you know that the beginning of that is by saying to yourself and knowing what your top 5 values and principles are. Those will hold you. And you stick to those wherever you go, no matter what anybody's saying. Then you're holding to yourself, to you, and to what Spirit has for you here in this world. So what are the action steps? I'd like to leave you guys with action steps. How to claim your life. The first thing is just decide for it. Decide for it. Just say yes to whatever it is, no matter how difficult it may seem to you. You have the power of God in you. You have the power of the divine. Believe it, and you will see it. So just claim it. Whatever it is, claim it. Be clear about it. What do you want from your life? So when I say be clear, I said earlier, don't hedge. Don't hedge about it. Well, God, if I deserve it, if I've been praying right, if I've been doing, I don't know what all we put in our heads. There are no conditions on prayer. God answers prayer, period. That's my little niece. She's like 9 years old. Period, Pooh. That's what she tells me. Period, Pooh. That's it. That's it. Just be clear. What do you want from your life? And once you're clear on that, just stay focused on that. Stay focused on that and know that God is with you every step of the way. Listen, do what's yours to do, what Spirit is telling you to do, even though you don't understand how that affects your bottom line. Sometimes the Spirit will tell me to do something, and what's that got to do with anything? Hello? This is how I talk to Spirit. You guys know this is how we talk. We have a conversation like I have with you. Because that's what I ask for. I ask God to be clear with me. Speak with me in ways that I can understand. That's what you need to do. Ask God to speak with you in ways that you can understand. Each one of us has a different relationship, a different way that God speaks to us. But I ask for clarity, so there's no doubt in my mind what the message is and who the message is from. Okay? Even though I argue, I still end up doing it. Because like a child, Really, Mom? Dad? I got to do this? You know you do. Just get going. Just keep going. Stop that. So the life we want has to be decided on. You have to decide on it. Don't give yourself an out by being okay with whatever shows up, it's going to be okay. No, it's not okay. It's not whatever. It's not that. It's what you want. If God says yes, if it's God's will, this is what Luke 12:32 says. Fear not, for it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. To give you the kingdom. God has already said yes. You just have to accept it. He's already said yes to life, to whatever your heart desires. God has already said yes. God's just waiting for you to decide. Just say yes. If you walk away with nothing else today, walk away with this statement. Just say yes. Just say yes. I want to leave you with this final quote from Wayne Dyer. One of the most effective means for transcending the ordinary and moving into the realm of extraordinary is saying yes more frequently and eliminating no almost completely. I call it saying yes to life, saying yes to yourself, to your family, to your children, to your tribe, to your life. My final thoughts for you is the normal default for life is no, because it's the safest path. No just keeps you on the path you already know and that you're already on. That's why it's easy for us to say it. There's a movie, because I love movies and love quoting from them. There's a movie called Hell or High Water. Take a look at it. Just go on YouTube. You don't have to look at the whole movie. Just go on YouTube. Research the movie title, Hell or High Water, and just put in waitress. Just put in waitress. Hell or High Water, waitress on YouTube, and listen to what she says. Here's what she says. She walks up to two guys that are there to order some stuff, and she says, "What don't you want?" I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, listen, we serve steak and baked potatoes. That's what we serve. Now, either you don't want corn on the cob, or you don't want green beans. So what don't you want? Because you're getting everything else. That is a default position, saying no, what don't you want? That's an easy pass. It was easy for her to just walk up and say, this is what we're doing. Tell me the one thing you don't want, because you're getting everything else. That's easy for me. I don't have a whole bunch of things to look at. I don't have to make choices. That's easy for us, yeah? The no side of life, it's easy. But that's not what brings a great life. Don't make no your default response. It's not where great lives are lived. Just say yes. What's going to happen if you say yes? You can always say no later, right? What happens if you say yes? You're opening your life to something you've never seen before. You don't know how it works, but you know the Spirit is with you and the people that you're with, because we're all individualized expressions. So God's in the room. God's in this place. God's everywhere you are. Great lives come from making your default answer yes. Yes, an enthusiastic yes, and we'll figure it out. Yes, and I trust that God, the universe, the Spirit, whatever, is going to take me to where, and take you to where great love and joy is found. That's what's going to happen. So I'm imploring you to make yes your default position, and to trust and to know that God will work it out, because it is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And so it is. Namaste.